Joining our bomber group here today is the C-1 Grumman Trader. This is how you get a whole bunch of airplanes packed in tight on an aircraft carrier. And keep your eyes on this aircraft right there. They're going to unfold the wings and get it ready for flying. As I was walking around the grounds yesterday during the practice, I noticed that we have a couple of firefighting aircraft stationed here, and they look just like the C-1 Trader. Civilian operators took the Trader and the Tracker aircraft and converted them into fire bombers, and they have served very, very well in this capacity. An aviation firm up in Canada known as Conair Aviation actually took out the radial engines and designed a turboprop version, and that's exactly the airplanes that you see parked off to the north of the airfield. Those are standing on standby, I would imagine, for firefighting duties. There's a good look at the Tracker, or the Trader, and in behind here, this goofy-looking airplane is the TBM Avenger. It's got a face only an airplane designer could love, really, but it's a remarkable airplane. And in behind, we have a Canadian Harvard, and in behind that, the silver aircraft is our T6 Texan. I'll tell you a little bit about the differences between the American and the Canadian version of the T6 in just a few moments. You'll want to take some notes because music down just a little bit here, because the music is going to be coming from the runway. Listen to the distinct differences between these aircraft as they take off. Listen to the C-1 as he goes by. Bringing up the gear right now, our TBM Avenger, also known as the Turkey. And now for yet another sound, our Harvard and a T6. Bring back the 1940s music just to get us in the mood again. Let me tell you a little bit about that Grumman C-1 Trader. It's a carrier onboard delivery variant of the Grumman S2 Tracker. It was replaced by a similar version of the Northrop Grumman E2 Hawkeye, as well as the C2 Greyhound. Throughout the 1960s and the 1970s, the C-1 Trader carried mail and supplies to aircraft carriers on station in the Pacific Ocean during the Vietnam War, and also served as a trainer for all-weather carrier operations. Over its production life, 87 C-1 Traders were built, of which 4 were converted into EC-1A Tracer. These were electronic countermeasures aircraft. The last C-1 was retired from the United States Navy service in 1988, and it was the second to last radial engine aircraft in U.S. military service, the last being the C-131, which wasn't retired until 1990. Now, as of 2010, approximately 10 are still airworthy, one of which you're seeing right here today, and they're operating, of course, in civilian hands. Here comes a high-speed, low-altitude pass by our C-1 Trader. C-1 Trader piloted by 2 crew members. To give you an idea of the size of the airplane, it has a length of about 42 feet and a wingspan of just shy of 70 feet. empty, the aircraft weighs just under 18,800 pounds and has a maximum takeoff weight of just over 29,000 pounds. It's powered by two Wright R1820 Cyclone 9-cylinder radial piston engines that gives approximately 1,500 horsepower each. Here's a good look at our turkey. The Avenger was an American torpedo bomber developed initially for the United States Navy and Marine Corps and eventually used by several air and naval aviation services craft. And now we're going to get a look at our Warbird. It's essentially the same aircraft as the T6 with a couple of differences that I'll tell you about in just a second. Giving you a good look at the underside of the Warbird as he goes by. Here comes our second, the T6. Well, the top side and a bottom side pass. The AT-6, the SNJ as it was known as the Navy, or the Warbird, was the main trainer for fighter and bomber pilots in World War II for the Army Air Corps. They used the AT-6, the US Navy, that's the SNJ, and the Warbird for Britain, Canada, and Australia. Flying under the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Royal Air Force, and the Royal Australian Air Force colors. Using a combination of the best features of aeronautical engineering at the time, the concept for the now famous T6 was doodled on a yellow legal pad in 1935 by designers at North American Aviation, and it was originally called the NA-16. In the next 3 years, several variants of the NA-16 product, generating about 600 horsepower. Weighs about 2 tons empty, folks. Has a wingspan of about 42 feet. Now look closely at our Avenger as he comes by. Beautiful paint scheme on the aircraft. And he's got the torpedo bay doors open as he goes by. Beautiful green and yellow paint job with the red stripes on the tops of the wings. Constructed in 1940 as a replacement for the obsolete Douglas TBD Devastator, Grumman's team ended up creating one of the most influential aircraft of the Second World War. Here's another good look at our Warbird. Key differences between the American and the Canadian version was that the Canadian Warbirds had a lengthened exhaust stack that ran almost the length of the fuselage, had a fixed rear canopy, a reconfigured control panel, and the control stick was in the British style. Might be wondering why they wanted that long exhaust stack, which was not on the T6 Texans that just flew by. All of Canada's training happened, or much of it happened, over the cold Canadian prairies. And designers felt that they needed to keep their pilots and students warm, so they tried to borrow heat off of the exhaust stack and put it into the cockpit. Whether it worked or not is still a question to this day, but that at least was the intent of having that lengthened exhaust stack, was a way to keep the pilot